What's up everyone, Kyler Sazon here. Welcome back to another video, and today we will be talking about AEW Dynasty 2025. Of course, we got our preview predictions, whatever you like to call it. And there's currently 10 matches announced. I feel like one or two more, or a couple more will be announced between now and recording, or between now when I'm recording this and the event. Normally for the pre-show, there's no pre-show matches currently listed. But we do have 10 matches, so a lot to talk about. And yeah, like I said, normally the weekend of AEW announce a couple of matches for the 0 hour. But yeah, I can't wait for them. So yeah, let's just get straight into it and talk about the men's Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal. There are two matches for that announced, and we're going to start with Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. And I'm going to go with Kyle Fletcher here, of course, coming off that cage match and that feud with Ospreay. I think a win here does more for Fletcher than it does for Briscoe. I like Mark Briscoe, but I feel like, again, coming off the Ospreay feud, capitalize on the momentum you have with Kyle Fletcher, give him the win here, because another loss here and another loss on a pay-per-view, I feel like the momentum behind Fletcher kind of starts to slow down a bit here then. So yeah, I see Fletcher getting the win over Mark Briscoe, but it should be a good match. Mark Briscoe's awesome. Kyle Fletcher is literally probably the breakout star of last year, and the stuff with Ospreay has been great, and I'm excited to see what is next and what direction we go with Kyle Fletcher, and because of that, I would give him the win over Mark Briscoe. Then we're going to continue on with the men's Owen Hart, and we're going to actually talk about Will Ospreay. We did mention him there when we were talking about Kyle Fletcher, but he challenges the newest signing to AEW, Kevin Knight. I do really like Kevin Knight from what I've seen of him in New Japan. Of course, had a decent match with Switchblade when he made his debut. Him and Ospreay had a good tag match on Dynamite this week. So yeah, I'm excited to see Kevin Knight in AEW, and I think putting him in with Ospreay for his first pay-per-view match, it shows that the company have a lot of faith in Kevin Knight coming in, giving him a big match on pay-per-view so early. I do think he's filling in for an injured Jay White. I believe that's what they were saying on commentary, so maybe Kevin Knight, maybe he wasn't even supposed to be in this tournament, maybe he wasn't supposed to be on the pay-per-view, but he could have been the wild card either. But yeah, Kevin Knight, Ospreay, I do think this will be a very good matchup. I think these are two great workers, and I think they'll work well together. But I'm going with Will Ospreay here. I do think Kevin Knight will lose. It's just he's in there with Ospreay, and I feel like Ospreay, he's one of the favourites for this tournament. I definitely see him at least reaching the finals. So yeah, it's hard to go against Will Ospreay, and unfortunately that does mean a defeat to Kevin Knight on his pay-per-view debut for AEW. Well, actually, I think he might be on Forbidden Door, but when his partner Japan, but his first pay-per-view as a member of the AEW roster, I should say. Then we have the women's own, and we've got Mercedes Mone versus Julia Hart. And as much as I like Julia Hart, it's hard to look past Mercedes Mone. I do think Mercedes Mone will get the win here over Julia. Like I said, I do like Julia Hart, but it is Mercedes Mone. It will be a fun matchup, but yeah, Mercedes is going to get the victory there over Julia Hart. The next match we're going to talk about is the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin versus the Learning Tree, Big Bill and Brian Keith. I'm a big Brian Keith fan from his time in DPW. Big Bill has had an awesome run in AEW, but I'm going to go with the Hurt Syndicate here. I'm going to go with Lashley and Benjamin, and I think there'll be a little help from MJF. MJF has been trying to, him and MVP had a talk where, MVP invited him to the Hurt Syndicate. Lashley and Sheldon kind of didn't seem to be on board with it. I feel like this is going to lead to MJF helping the Hurt Syndicate to beat the Learning Tree and retain the AEW Tag Team Championships and continue on their run. Because I just don't see the Hurt Syndicate losing the championships this early into the run. They've only had them a couple of months now. But yeah, I just don't see this being the end for the run. And I feel like they're going to play into the MJF stuff a bit more. And yeah, I can see MJF helping them, joining the Hurt Syndicate, and then eventually turning on them, leading to a match with Lashley and MJF down the line. Maybe after he eventually costs them the tag belts. I just don't see that being here. The next match we're going to talk about is the TNT Championship matchup as Daniel Garcia defends against Adam Cole. Baby. This match has no time limit after the time limit draw, and outside interference. No outside interference is permitted, I should say. This one is tough to call. I like Daniel Garcia. I like Adam Cole. Who do you go with? I don't know why. I'm going to go Adam Cole. I don't know why. You know, a win here for Daniel Garcia cements his TNT title run. He's had the belt for a while though. He's had a couple of defenses on Collision, especially against Cole. I don't know, there's just something telling me go Adam Cole here. I wouldn't be mad if Garcia did retain. I wouldn't be mad if Cole won. I'd be happy either way, as I said, as a fan of both guys. But there's just something telling me I think Adam Cole is going to win here. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that is. But I'm just leaning more towards Adam Cole, baby. So yeah, I'm going to go Adam Cole becomes your new TNT champion, beating Daniel Garcia here at Dynasty. Is that the right prediction to make? Who knows? We'll only find out Sunday. But yeah, it's just something leaning me towards Adam Cole getting the win here. Next up is Mask versus title. Bandido versus Jericho. And I'm going Bandido to win it here. I think it's time to take the Ring of Honor Championship off of Chris Jericho. I think Bandido is the right guy to do it with. Especially with this story, especially with how you've built it up. Jericho beating down Gravity at the start of the last pay-per-view and taking his mask in front of Bandido's family. Of course, Gravity is Bandido's brother. So I feel like the most sense here would be Bandido getting revenge and taking the title from Jericho and keeping his belt. Or keeping his mask, I should say. Like, I don't think Bandido should be unmasked. I don't want to see Bandido unmasked. So yeah, I'm going to go with Bandido to beat Chris Jericho and become new Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. Next up, we got the Death Riders defending the Trios Championship against Rated FTR. And I'm kind of intrigued in this with how this stuff's been going with FTR. They've been teasing a bit of tension between Dax and Cash as of recent weeks. Of course, Dax attacked a referee, pushed Cash, and Cash was like, all right, we'll work together at Sunday, but after Sunday, we need to have some words. So, again, I wouldn't like to see FTR split up. I feel like if they did, they just kind of get lost in the shuffle a bit as singles guys. But also, what more is there for FTR to do as a team? So I feel like that's why it's a bit intriguing. But I think they're going to lean into that a bit more. And I think Rated FTR will become Trios champions. The Death Riders run as Trios champions, it's been a bit forgettable. They're just kind of giving the belt so everyone in the Death Riders Bar Marina would have something. The Death Riders, they'd have the Trios belt of Moxley World Champion. It makes it seem like, they're such a big threat, they all have gold. But it's kind of been a forgettable run a bit, like struggling to think of much things they've done with the belts. Of course, I was there at All In when they won them in the ladder match. So yeah, I feel like Rated FTR are gonna get the belts, and we're gonna start to see some cracks forming in the Death Riders, and kind of tease maybe this is where the downfall begins for the Death Riders. So is the match I am looking forward to the most on this card. Kenny Omega defends the International Championship against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. I absolutely love Speedball Mike Bailey. I have done for about 10 years now, since I first started watching him in PWG. Speedball is one of my favourites. I'm so happy he's in AEW. I'm so happy he's got like a big spotlight where he can show the world what he can do. And they're putting him in there straight away, his first pay-per-view since coming in. And he's in there with Kenny Omega, the best bout machine, again, the best in the world. And Ricochet, who is an amazing wrestler and has done some of his best work ever in AEW. And so yeah, I'm very hyped for this one. I'm very hyped to see this one. I'm happy to see Speedball, like I said, get that big showcase to shine. And on paper, going into it, this is going to be my match tonight. This is what I'm looking forward to. And knowing all three guys involved, they will deliver. In terms of predictions, I'm going with Kenny Omega. Again, he just won that championship from Konosuke Takeshita at the last pay-per-view, which was Revolution. So yeah, he just won that belt at Revolution. Sorry, I got interrupted by the doorbell. But yeah, as I was saying, Omega, Ricochet, Speedball, that should be my match tonight. I'm excited to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm going with Kenny to retain. As much as I think Ricochet has done some great work in AEW, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before he does get rewarded with a championship reign. As much as I love Speedball Mike Bailey and I'd love to see him coming in straight away and getting a big championship win, I just think it's too early to take the belt off of the cleaner, Kenny Omega. Then we have timeless Toni Storm defending the Women's Championship against Megan Bayne, of course, coming off that great Hollywood ending against Mariah May at the last pay-per-view. Megan, of course, recently coming in, has been impressive in AEW. But I'm going to go with timeless Toni Storm. Again, like I said, just coming off that big Mariah May feud where she regained the championship belt at Grand Slam, retaining it at Revolution. I want to be against Megan Bayne dethroning Toni Storm. I want to be against Megan Bayne, and I think Megan Bayne is someone that definitely should, down the line, get a run with the Women's Championship. I don't know if now is the right time. I feel like Toni just regained that belt and only really feud with Mariah since regaining it. Like, when was Grand Slam? Was it February? Yeah, I really like Megan Bayne, but I don't think now's the right time to give her the belt. I think there's more to do with Toni Storm as champion. So like I said, I wouldn't be mad if Bayne was to become new AEW Women's Championship, or become the new AEW Women's Champion. I'm just going to go with Toni Storm for this prediction, but again, that could just be because how much I love Toni Storm and I love the timeless stuff that she is currently doing. Then we have the main event matchup between Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland, and I am so conflicted on this one. Like I said, I feel like the Death Riders could lose the Trios Championships. And I feel like that could play into the main event where they're like, oh, could this be the downfall for the Death Riders? And because of that, I feel like maybe you can have Moxley just hang on, steal it. He continues to hold the belt, and then you do the big defeat at All In. But it's also Swerve Strickland, and whose house is it? It is Swerve's house. And I love Swerve, and I would love to see him regain that AEW World Championship. What do I go with? Do I go with Head or Heart? I'm going to go with Swerve. I haven't been as down on the Death Rider stuff as a lot of people have. I haven't been down on Moxley's reign as a lot of people have. So I'm not one of those people that's crying for this to end. I'm like, oh, come on, it has to end. Like, just let's move on to something else. Like, I'm happy to wait and see how it plays out and see where it goes. But also, on the other hand, it is Swerve Strickland, and I love Swerve Strickland. So I'm going to predict Swerve Strickland, because I would love to see Swerve once again hold that AEW World Championship, and then that, brings us in to Double or Nothing. Maybe you can do a rematch with Moxley and have like some hardcore stipulation, and then moving in then to All In, and you have the Owen Hart tournament. You can have Ospreay, you can have Hangman's in it, you have the wild card. there's a lot of different ways you could go. Imagine Swerve and Hangman reuniting that feud at All In for the title in the main event. That is probably the biggest match, one of the biggest matchups, if not the biggest matchup AEW could do for All In. Ospreay Swerve, again, that is a very big match you could do for All In. They did do it last year for the belt. It was before All In last year. Because I remember a lot of people thought maybe they were going to do Ospreay Swerve out All In Wembley before they went with Danielson. What pay-per-view was that? I can't remember what show exactly that was on. Let me just quickly look that up, because Swerve versus Ospreay. Was it Forbidden Door? Yeah, it was Forbidden Door. They did Swerve and Ospreay last year, so they could run it back All In. But then again, you're going in, because they could run that back at All In, have Ospreay win the belt and hold it going into Forbidden Door this year in the UK. I feel, like I said, as much as I haven't been against the Death Rider stuff, I feel like the possibilities for Swerve as champion are a lot more exciting. Like I said, you have Ospreay, you have Hangman. They're two matches. I'd much rather see Ospreay and Hangman against Swerve than against Moxley, and that's not on Moxley. I just feel like the last Swerve and Ospreay match was amazing. I won't mind running it back. And then you have that big feud, that big history between Swerve and Hangman that if you really leaned into, like I said, it's probably one of the biggest matchups AEW could run for the main event of All In. So yeah, that is it for my predictions for AEW Dynasty. I know I've kind of skipped over, but I have gone for Swerve to win over Moxley. And yeah, that's going to be it. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.